It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Chicka chicka boom boom. It's the Leo Be the Lion show. Boom boom. Gonna tell you what you need to know. Boom boom. Now here comes your boy Leo. Hey everybody, it's your boy Leo Be the Lion coming to you live from Respectable Street via subcultureradio.com. I come to you every Monday live from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, and you can catch me via subcultureradio.com. And if you can't catch me live, I post the videos after the fact on YouTube on my YouTube channel at Leo Be the Lion Show. You can follow me there or subscribe. I really appreciate it. Or on IG at Leo Be the Lion Show. So this is the Leo Be the Lion Show where we get into sports and business with South Florida flavor. So I make sure to cover the South Florida sports topics. So I have a lot to talk about this week, but also I do get into business and other local topics of the day that I do want to touch on. So first of all, and I usually let you know what's going on with my what happened over the weekend, since this is a Monday show. And for right now, it's not football season, so football season would usually take up the weekend, and we'd be leading into Monday Night Football. But let's get into what happened over the weekend. So this weekend, I do want to give a shout out to my girl. She made some Wagyu beef burgers. She got a good deal on them, and then so she was able to make them, and we had that homemade French fries, and that was delicious. Friday night, chill, have a night in. And then Saturday, got to clean up the crib, got to make sure everything's good for the week. You know, make sure the toilet's good, make sure the shower's good, make sure the room is good, laundry's done, stuff like that. So I just cleaned up on Saturday. And then on Sunday, it was the Mother's Day 2023 extravaganza. No, I'm just kidding. It was a good day yesterday. A happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and to all the women out there that are celebrating Mother's Day. I got some flowers from Publix and was able to treat my mom to dinner, and we ate the barbecue, and we were able to watch a questionnaire from my 95-year-old grandmother about her life, and just to get to know a little bit about her and her parents and her grandparents. And it was pretty cool just to see history in a living person, and history just to see celebrating my grandmother, and to watch it on Mother's Day. I thought that was pretty poignant and awesome. And it was a nice thing to watch with your family when you're watching a relative like that, and get to know more about it. So Mother's Day was great. And just to switch tones for a second, it was nice to talk about Mother's Day, but I'm getting into things that I just need to touch on. The Lone Pine Golf Course, I'm hearing, is not done yet. Where, yes, it did get sold to D.R. Horton, but the Riviera Beach PZB, the Planning and Zoning Committee, did not approve the rezoning to residential use. They still have it as recreational use. So I'm in hopes and prayers for the Lone Pine residents that they can band together and get some support on their side. The Lone Pine residents, I'm going to try to post this portion as quick as possible on my YouTube. But for the Lone Pine residents, I hope that they can get some relief, and that the city of Riviera Beach would side with the zoning and not have it be rezoned, because we don't want to kick up the dirt. We don't want to move up the dirt too much. That would cause environmental issues with PFAs and chemicals that are known to be carcinogens as well. Also, if they could do recreational use, you could change the golf course into some type of municipal recreation center, or perhaps an investment from a nonprofit similar to what the city of West Palm Beach did for its municipal golf course, and kind of save the Lone Pine Golf Course to see. I think that is a good option, and I think the Lone Pine residents of Riviera Beach should try to exhaust all options that they could do. And my heart is with them. Also, switching gears a little bit more now, it's just kind of like a rapid fire. Ron DeSantis signed a bill that basically did away with any funding to tax-funded universities for diversity and equity and inclusion programs. And he did away with that. And I think that's a shame because a lot of times it's those programs, those students that feel neglected or feel left out that are looking for a home. And in college, it's like a time that, it's the time when so many things are happening in your life, in a young adult's life, that you're trying to make a way. You're trying to figure out a lot of different things about what you're going to do in the future and what your future is going to hold. And to not have a support system, a lot of people of color, a lot of LGBTQ community don't have a good support system. And so to defund these programs for the state-funded universities that provide support for those individuals that I mentioned, to defund those programs, I think is rash. It's a rash decision. I also think it harkens back to, quite frankly, it harkens back to just a racist society, and I don't like that, and I totally disagree with that. So I would like, and I think it's frustrating that Ron DeSantis has been passing these bills that that the majority of Florida residents seem to oppose. And I just wonder, who is Ron DeSantis working for if he keeps signing these bills that the majority of the Florida residents do not want. 70% of people were against the concealed carry without a permit bill, and he passed that. And I know there was a big opposition to this bill being approved for the DEI funding to be abolished. I know there was a big opposition to that bill, and he approved that bill. So what I'm saying is, on the Leo Be the Lion show, is that it's kind of frustrating, and it's a sad day in Florida history to defund these programs for diversity, equity, and inclusion, because these programs help a lot of students. These programs help a lot of residents at the university. And to say to the universities, you can't teach anything that is not factually evident, but it can't also seem oppressive, or you can't say that the U.S. has a systemic race problem. But would be like, was slavery and the Jim Crow era mutually exclusive? Or did one cause and effect evolve into the Jim Crow era, evolve into the modern prison state that we have today? So what I'm saying is, you got to know your history, but for them to say, oh, you can't teach this because it's now talking about oppression, exclusion, and it might make people feel bad, even though it's a fact, you're not allowed to teach that. That's kind of like an unconstitutional thing to do. And to say, oh, since you're a tax-funded university, a public university, you can't talk about certain things. That is kind of not a separation. I don't know. That's kind of not in the public's best interest. And I just have to say I completely disagree with all the Ron DeSantis bills that he's passed so far in this legislative session. Next, I'm going to be talking about those motivators. And so this isn't talking about those that I know personally that are motivators. This is people online that are trying to be motivators, that are in it for the money. And like, for instance, Jay Shetty, he is actually like a known plagiarizer of quotes, and he gets those quotes and he says, and he puts his name under, and he doesn't give credit to the original person for doing the quotes. Or I know, and he's a good guy to most people, but like, I don't even care. You call me a hater or whatever, but Gary Vee, he wants to motivate people, but his end goal is to generate money for his business. So is that really true motivation? And I just think it's frustrating because a lot of times in this whole world today, you're taught to look for motivation from the outside, when it's really you having the intrinsic motivation, because there's two types of motivation. Extrinsic, that's from the outside. Intrinsic, that's from your inner side. That's because you want to do it just because, oh man, I just feel the urge to run this race. Not because if I win, I get the money, but I feel the urge to run this race. Or I feel the urge to do a radio show, not because I think it's going to make me famous, but because I like talking on the radio or having a podcast. And so Gary Vee, he portrays the most kind and loving person on the internet. And that's cool. I love kindness. I love loving. I love caring. Leo loves the kids. It's just that's how it goes. Like, I'm a cool, like, it's cool. But what I don't like is its content, all that turns back, drives you to buy his products, drives you to invest in his conference that he has coming up, drives you to buy the book or go to Wine Library. And yeah, I don't care if I'm giving free pub, but that's just because I like to share the wealth. He doesn't produce content just because he wants to. He produces the content to make the money because he already has his business machine rolling. And yeah, that's the logical, I guess, next step, what you do. But I just feel like it's cheap. That's all. And I could be totally wrong, but I just feel like it's cheap, and I don't like those motivators. It doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't. If somebody says, "Oh yes, go out there and crush it," I'm just not that type of person where I respond to that, and so it's not something that's for me. Because I want to tell you, I want to tell everyone listening and watching on YouTube that you are enough, like, by yourself. You are whole by yourself. You don't need somebody telling you this is wrong with you, do this. Because a lot in the world today, a lot of things happening in the world today, almost all marketing is saying something's wrong with you. Here, let me solve this problem for you. And yeah, it's a natural thing, because if you solve problems, you're going to want to buy the product. I took marketing. I have my MBA, so I know that's kind of the natural human nature thing. But like for women, yeah, you might think you need the makeup, but you're beautiful just how you are. Guys, you think you might have issues in the bedroom, whatever. Bro, you're whole by yourself. You don't need that. I think it's the wrong way to go about stuff, to have that mindset of something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with me. If you say that enough, something's going to be wrong with you. You got to say, you can't have that mindset. It's got to come intrinsically motivate you to have the mindset. Don't listen to Leo be the lion. Just think about what the right thing to do in your head is. And 90% of the things are fine just the way you are, unless it's affecting somebody. Like if you're going out and you might be fine being an asshole, but if you're going out and you're being an asshole to everybody, that's going to affect you. That's going to come back negatively to you at some point. But you already start whole. So be whole. Don't be an asshole, but be whole. And don't let that negative marketing get to you, because you are a whole-ass person. So let's go. And don't half-ass it, whole-ass it. So now that I'm off my soapbox, Leo Be the Lion show coming to you live Monday 6 to 7 at subcultureradio.com at Respectable Street here on Clematis in downtown West Palm Beach. Now let's get into the sports section show, and let's talk about the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. It's like Leo Be the Lion. We're in 90-degree weather. Why are you talking about the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs? Well, guess what? This is South Florida show. The Florida Panthers, ladies and gentlemen, that play in Sunrise. The Florida Panthers are in the Stanley Cup Conference, Eastern Conference Finals, and it's set. They're set to start playing this week against the Carolina Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes are former Stanley Cup winners, I believe once or twice in their franchise history, and the Florida Panthers have not won a Stanley Cup in their franchise history, but they did make it to the Stanley Cup Finals back in 1996, and so they're trying to get back for the first time in 27 years to the Stanley Cup Finals. The Panthers, as it stands right now, have shocked some people, really turned some heads, and they are led by Matthew Tkachuk, and the Panthers are 42 wins, 32 losses, and 8 overtime losses in the Atlantic Division, which is basically the 8th seed. And the Carolina Hurricanes are 52-21-9 overall. They're the first in the Metro Division and the second overall seed in the Eastern Conference. The first overall seed was the Boston Bruins. However, the Florida Panthers took care of the Bruins. The Cats beat the Bears, if you will, and took care of the Bruins in Let me see. I have it right here. They took care of the Bruins in 7 games. Then they beat the Maple Leafs. That's a hockey team, and I ain't on no hockey team. But that's the Maple Leafs. They beat them in 5 games. Game 1 is, like I mentioned a moment ago, Game 1 is scheduled to take place later this week. It's TBD right now, to be determined, because the Western Conference still hasn't been decided. The Western Conference 2 final teams have not been decided. The top players to look out for in Florida for the Florida Panthers are, like I said, left winger Matthew Tkachuk. And he has a postseason team high 16 points for this postseason so far for the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then center Carter Verhaeghe, who has a 12 points, and he's second on the team. And may I just say is that Carter Verhaeghe, he has been playing Mr. Clutch. He's been coming up big in the big moments when the Panthers need him. The other night in the Maple Leafs game, he was able to score to give the Panthers an overtime victory, and he's been coming up clutch in the postseason other times as well, especially in Game 7 as well. He came up clutch to assist on a couple goals and to help the Panthers steal a couple games in Toronto. The top players for the Hurricanes are Jordan Martinook, and with 10 points, and Sebastian Aho with 10 points as well. And their top goalkeeper is Frederick Anderson. What I want to say about Carolina is, just telling by their point totals, they're not scoring at the same clip as the Florida Panthers. But the Florida Panthers, I think the main difference, they are scoring more than the Hurricanes, but the main difference is their goaltending play. The netminder for the Florida Panthers, Sergei Bobrovsky, especially known as Bob, he's got a 2.82 goals against average for the postseason and basically a 918 goals save percentage. And then that might not be like tops in the league, but he's stopping the goals when they count, and he's really helping keep the Panthers in it so they don't get down by too many goals, nor so when a team's trying to make a comeback, he's holding off those teams from comebacks and allowing the Panthers to do the comebacking if they are doing that. So, like I mentioned a moment ago, the Western Conference is not set yet, but one side of the Western Conference is the Las Vegas Golden Knights are getting back to the Stanley Cup Conference Finals in the West. They will be playing the winner of Game 7 between Dallas Stars and Seattle Kraken. Seattle was able to force a Game 7 last night in Game 6, and so now Game 7 will take place shortly, and we'll find out who's going to face the Golden Knights in the Western Conference Finals for the Stanley Cup playoffs. And may I just say that I really think this sets up well for the Panthers. The Panthers have already beaten the number 1 seed in the East, and now they're taking on the number 2 seed, but they've beaten the number 1 seed in 7 games. Then they beat technically the worst team, the Maple Leafs, in 5 games, and now I expect them to take care of the Hurricanes in 6 games. But who knows? It's hockey. You never really kind of know with hockey. But as long as you have a netminder that's standing on his head and you have good scorers like I mentioned it in Tkachuk and Verhaeghe, you can expect, and Montour and a couple other guys that are really, and we can't forget Sam Bennett. He's really doing a good job of setting the tone, being the muscle that the Panthers need on those lines. So let's get now to the just a little predictions here. The Hurricanes are minus 200 to win the series, and what that means is if you put $200 on the series, then you would win $100 back. So that's what minus 200. And the Panthers are plus 110, so that means if you put 100, you would get 110 back. And so Panthers are the underdogs. They're the long shot. And I personally believe like the Panthers have a shot because they beat the strong teams to get there. And if Bob has a great series, Sergei Bobrovsky, the goaltender, and the Panthers keep scoring at a high clip, they can beat the Hurricanes. And then when you get to the East versus West, I think the Western Conference might have the advantage, seeing how the Boston Bruins are out of it, so they were the top point team, but I believe that the Western Conference may have the advantage because they did have this defending Stanley Cup champs in the Avalanche last year. So I believe the Western Conference has the advantage, but I hope personally it is the Kraken versus the Panthers because, yeah, it'll be a Seattle-Florida matchup, which is a kind of a far travel. But to have them, Seattle is a recent expansion team, and then the Florida Panthers have never won a Stanley Cup before, and they've been to the Stanley Cup once in their history. So I think that would be a nice matchup to see. It wouldn't be any of the blue bloods of hockey, if you will. Now let's get to the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs, no football this week. What can I say? Nothing much is going on. It was quiet after the draft. The Dolphins have signed a few people, a couple old linemen. They signed Isaiah Wynn from the offensive tackle from the Jets, and they also signed another former Jet player who was also a Seattle player. Correct me if I'm wrong. At Leo Be the Lion Show on YouTube. Or if you disagree with anything I talk about, feel free to leave me a comment, and I will get back to you on that. So the NBA playoffs, they're unpredictable. What can I say? We have two seeds lower than 6 that are in the conference finals right now. And let's start with the Eastern Conference. We have the number 2 seeded Boston Celtics, which took care of the NBA 76ers, of the Philadelphia 76ers last night in Game 7. Yesterday afternoon in Boston, the Boston Celtics basically destroyed the Sixers. They were up by 30 at the end of the third quarter, and they took care of business, and the Celtics moved on from the conference semifinals to the conference finals to take on the Miami Heat, the 8-seeded Miami Heat, the Miami Heat that have shocked the world so far, that nobody thought that they would get to the conference finals, let alone get past the first round of the Bucks. The Heat beat the Bucks in 5 games. They shocked the world, beat the Bucks in 5 games, and then the Heat beat the Knicks in 6 games. In both of those series, they were the underdogs. In the Bucks series, they were, I believe, +2 something to be underdogs for the series to start. And then in the Knicks series, they were underdogs in that series as well. The Knicks were favorites, I believe, like 2-1 favorites. Why I mention that is that they've seemed to count out the Heat, but they neglect to mention that the Heat have the better coach, probably the best coach in the Eastern Conference, in Eric Spoelstra, and that Heat culture is real. They haven't admitted that, but now they finally they admitted it after the Heat beat the Knicks, and the Heat had some adversity, had some injuries early in the playoffs, but now Tyler Hero may come back from his broken hand, and they've had some adversity in the playoffs. Like I said, Jimmy Butler, he rolled his ankle, but they seem to be recovering well from that, and they seem to be on a playoff run. Bam Adebayo is playing great, and let me see what did I put? Let's see on these show notes. So Jimmy Butler, these 3 players, in my opinion, have been the key, and I'll tell you why, for the Heat going forward so far. So if you're thinking about bets on them going forward, just think about these 3 players, how these 3 players are going to play. Is Bam Adebayo going to play like a 20-10 All-NBA defense type guy? Because if he is, the Heat have a good chance to win. Is Kyle Lowry going to play like a championship veteran, savvy, wily, crafty veteran that he is from the Toronto Raptors? Is he going to play like that, or is he going to play like a kind of washed up, overweight point guard? So if he plays like the crafty veteran, he's gonna help the Heat win. If he plays like Jimmy Butler, if he plays like the All-NBA player that he should be and the All-Star that he is, the Heat will have a chance to win. So it comes down to Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, and Bam, obviously shouldering the load. And then you have your role players. Like, I really believe in Max Strus because he's tall. He's got some size to him. And I believe in Max Strus. And not as much Duncan Robinson, but give me Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin all day because they know how to play the role and get the most, and Spoelstra knows how to play the minutes and get the most out of that rotation pretty much. Oh, and also to get clutch minutes from Kevin Love and clutch rebounding, and just to be that presence to get that rebound so Bam Adebayo doesn't have to get all the rebounds. But the Heat will be in good shape for Boston. Yeah, they're playing without Tyler Hero, but like I said, sometimes I feel like Tyler Hero's shot selection isn't the best. Even though he has the green light to shoot, I feel like his shot selection isn't the best. So I kind of don't want Tyler Hero to come back into the rotation and mess up the rotation, because it'll kind of remind me of, if that happens, if Tyler Hero comes back to the rotation and messes up the vibe and the team chemistry, it reminded me of when the Magic played the Lakers in the finals in the odd years in the 2000s, I believe 2009. And Rafer Alston had been playing starting point guard for entire playoffs because Jameer Nelson had been injured. Well, Jameer Nelson got healthy. He came back for the finals, and he played horribly. So, in my opinion, that was one of the factors leading to what cost the Magic the championship against the Lakers. And can the Heat, this is one of the biggest questions that people are having, even Heat fans, my buddies, all that they're having is, can the Heat compete against Boston? And yeah, of course, people from South Florida, people from Miami are going to be like, hell yeah, we can compete with Boston. Like, who's Boston? Like, Boston? Like, Miami is where it's at. That's what they're going to say. But, nah, like, for real, like, Boston has a complete team. Let's look at how the Boston Celtics got to the conference finals. Let's go over that quickly. And that is, they beat Atlanta Hawks in 6 games, and they beat the Philadelphia 76ers in 7 games, and they held home court in 7 games. And the Celtics are the 2 seed. They're looking like the class of the East. Before the playoffs started, even though they weren't the 1 seed, many people were picking the Celtics to go to the NBA Finals this year because the Celtics have that feeling of that they have unfinished business. They got to the finals, they lost against Steph Curry, and now they feel like they have that. They took their lump, and in previous shows I've said teams have to learn how to lose first before they can learn how to win the NBA championship, and that's something that happened to the Boston Celtics, and many people believe that the Boston Celtics now are the favorite in the East. Yeah, there's only 2 more teams left, but I still think the Heat can get it done. If they take game 1 in Boston, anything can happen after that, just because to steal that 1 game, of course, would take home court advantage back. But to steal that 1 game would also get into the minds of Boston. I don't think Boston mentally is strong. I believe that the Heat culture will get to Boston, and we'll see what happens. But the Boston Celtics have a tall lineup. When you have Marcus Smart, who's a taller point guard, you have Jaylen Brown, then you have role players coming in like Derek White and, the name escapes me, Robert Williams III. And then you have Al Horford starting, and then you have Jason Tatum starting, who's 6'10", and Al Horford. They have a tall lineup, and I think that's going to be difficult for the Heat on the rebounding tip, because Bam and Kevin Love, yeah, they're great rebounders, but Bam is 6'8", Kevin Love is 6'10". Kevin Love isn't the rebounder that he used to be, and we need Bam to be able to get those 10, 12 rebounds to really set the tone. I just worry that the Celtics are going to own the boards on us, and then the Heat are going to be in trouble. They do have bona fide role players like Smart, Horford, White, and Malcolm Brogdon, like I said, so that's kind of tricky for the Heat to deal with, especially when the Celtics have home court. It's hard to play in TD Garden. Let's see what the Celtics can do. There's going to be the Twitterverse, the Twitter sphere, the IG sphere, Facebook sphere, everybody. There's going to be inundated, overrun, flooded with Boston fans coming out. If Boston takes an early lead in the series, Boston's going to be like, I can't wait to get back to the finals. They're going to be booking it, and they're already going to be saying, let's try to play the Lakers in the finals. Well, I can guarantee you the small contingent in South Florida is going to be rooting for the Heat to win, and I hope it's the Heat in 6. I really do think that the Heat have the capability. They have to steal one of these first 2 games. I don't think the Heat will be able to lose the first 2 in Boston, play the second 2 in Miami, win those 2, so make it 2-2, and then beat Game 5 in Boston. I don't think it's going to be doing that. And I don't think when it comes down to Game 7, I think Game 7 they will if it comes down to Game 7, Boston will have that home court, and I think Boston will be able to take it. This is the 4th time the Heat and the Celtics have met in the conference finals. The first 2 were in 2012 and 2020, where the Heat took those. Where 2012 was the LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh years, and 2020 was the bubble year where the Heat beat the Boston Celtics in the bubble to play the Lakers. And there's a possibility that we're going to have a bubble rematch where the Heat and the Lakers can play. But the funny thing is that all 4 teams from the bubble, the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Celtics, and the Heat, were the same 4 teams that are in the conference finals this year. So it's like a bubble rematch all around. The third time that the Heat and the Celtics played in the conference finals was last year, where Boston won in 7 games. And it was basically a rock fight. It was a slugfest, a 7-game series, Heat and Boston. And it was and it was basically a Jimmy Butler long 3 clanked out to lose. And Boston moved on to the NBA Finals to lose to the Golden State Warriors. Now let's move to the Western Conference Finals. It is set. It is taking place tomorrow. The first game, Game 1, is tomorrow in Denver. It is the Western Conference 1-seeded Nuggets versus the 7th seed, the surprise seed, 7-seeded Lakers of La La Land. And the Nuggets are the 1 seed, and they honestly look like the best remaining team in the NBA. They have the least amount of weaknesses, and they beat Minnesota in 5 and the Suns in 6. And yeah, you might say that those teams weren't at their best, and the Nuggets closed them out early, but, good teams eat. Good teams feast. They don't play with their food. Good teams will take care of teams and not extend the series any further than it has to. The Nuggets were able to beat the Suns in 6 games and win in Phoenix, going away by 25 points. So that just shows you how strong the Nuggets are in the NBA and competing for the NBA Finals. Can Jokic, Murray, and Michael Porter Jr. with the other role players get the Nuggets to the finals? The knock on Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. and even Jamal Murray is that, their defense isn't up to par, and that they're a primarily offensive team. Nikola Jokic is basically a triple-double waiting to happen, but he's not necessarily the best defender. He's not fleet of foot, and he's not very agile, so he's not the best defender. But they have role players like Aaron Gordon and, like I mentioned before, Michael Porter Jr. and especially Jamal Murray. If Jamal Murray can play like he did in the bubble, and Bubble Murray, then if he can play like Bubble Murray, then the Nuggets really have a chance to beat the Lakers. But I personally think the Lakers and the Nuggets are the best matchup that we're going to see so far in the West. And I say that because you almost have the twin towers of LeBron James and Anthony Davis Jr. and versus the height of Jokic and the players of Michael Porter Jr., who's a tall player, about 6'9", 6'8", 6'9", and then you have Jamal Murray, who's a slashing guard. So you have the Lakers on purpose picked up players in free agency like Rui Hachimura and I forget the guy's name, his first name, but Vanderbilt. And they picked up these players to be role players, 1, but to 2, Rui Hachimura will guard Michael Porter Jr. Vanderbilt can guard Jamal Murray. Those players, those role players that the Lakers picked up in free agency are key, and the Lakers are on a roll right now ever since starting the season 2-10, and then with 5 weeks left in the season being 3 games out of the play-in, and then get into the play-in, win the play-in game, and then beating the two teams in front of them were beating Memphis and then beating the defending champs in Golden State were huge accomplishments for the Laker teams. They're not a true 7 seed where they've been having this roster all year. There really should be, like, if they had this roster through 82 games, you can bet that they would be at least a 3 seed and not a 7 seed. So, can Jokic, Murray, Porter Jr. with the other role players, get them to the finals? We shall see. Jokic, after being the MVP twice, has had disappointing shows in the playoffs. And then now this year that he's not an MVP, he's out for blood. He doesn't care about those trophies. He just wants to hold up the Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of the year. The Lakers, I believe, like I mentioned, match up well against the Nuggets and vice versa. And so I expect it to be a slugfest, to go 6 or 7 games, and for the games to be close, because it's going to come down to who can play better defense. Can Anthony Davis and LeBron James and their role players go off, or can Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Michael Porter Jr. and the role players for the Nuggets go off? The Lakers beat Memphis in 6 and Golden State in 6. Memphis, they didn't have John Morant for a couple games, and they weren't full strength, but they also were victim of hubris. They were too haughty. They were too full of themselves, overconfident, and they hadn't learned how to lose yet. So the Lakers dispatched them in 6 games. Whereas Golden State just didn't have the role players and the depth to compete to match up with, Anthony Davis Jr. and the other Lakers players. The Laker players were just better roles, better depth. Klay Thompson had a terrible series. Draymond Green had an okay series. Steph had an okay series, but they just didn't have the role players step up. Jordan Poole had 29 points in Game 1, but then for the rest of the series, he had a combined 29 points. So that's not going to get it done for the Golden State Warriors. People are saying the dynasty is over, or that the Warriors are done. Say goodbye to the Warriors dynasty, but trust me, they're just going to try to reload with the core guys that they have. Try to get some slashing wing players, get some 3-and-D guys, get some players to replace an Iguodala who couldn't come off the bench because he was injured, to replace other players like that. That will help the Warriors reload, because the core 3, Klay, Steph, and Draymond, they're getting up in years, but they are still capable of being the core that leads a team to the finals and getting it done. They just did it last year. The Lakers look like a strong team, in my opinion, because they beat the defending champs, and they beat the number 2 seed in the Grizz. Yeah, they took advantage of having the experience over the youth, and they took advantage of that. But LeBron James is the best player in the world right now, and AD, Anthony Davis Jr., and the role players are poised to get LeBron and AD back to the finals. I believe the players that were there for the 2020 finals are LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I don't think anybody else is a holdover from those finals, not even D'Angelo Russell. And so they want to do this for LeBron and AD, and I think that the key right here that we're talking about, the major key, and it's not DJ Khaled major key, it's just a regular key. But the major key is that if Anthony Davis stays healthy and plays how he knows how to play up to his potential, if Anthony Davis Jr. plays up to his potential, the Lakers should win the series. He's basically capable on any given night of being the best player on the court, the best player, I dare say, in the world. Anthony Davis is. He's got the skills of a guard in terms of the handles of a guard, but he can shoot and he can play the traditional big man role and rack up the rebounds. He had 9-10 rebounds in the first quarter for Game 6 against the Warriors, and I was just like, this man is a harken back to the old big man, the traditional big man of the days. So if Anthony Davis plays to his potential, LeBron James and AD will be back in the NBA Finals. I hope we personally see a bubble rematch of the Lakers and the Heat, and this time the Heat should, I hope, be able to beat the Lakers and the Lakers. We shall see. Now let's get into my hashtag 5-pack of picks. The hashtag 5-pack of picks. I didn't give you one for last week because I was off last week, but my record as it stands was 67, 50, and 2. And I had the 5 games I had was Knicks winning game 2 against the Heat, and they were able to tie up that series. They won, and there was 1-0. Then I had Boston winning game 1, and they lost that game to the Sixers, and so I was 1-1 on my picks. Then they had the Suns. I had Suns bouncing back in game 2 against the Denver Nuggets, and I lost that, so I'm 1-2 on my picks. Full disclosure here on the Leo B. the Lion Show. Speaking of that, you are listening to the Leo B. the Lion Show live every Monday here at Respectable Street on Clematis in West Palm Beach, Florida, via subcultureradio.com. If you go to subcultureradio.com and you click on the live radio link, you will hear me during the hours of 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern here on the Leo B. the Lion Show. And I post up the videos on YouTube at Leo B. the Lion Show is my handle, so you can search for me. It's that handsome-looking guy in the circle with the sunglasses on at the beach. That's my picture. And I like to post timestamps so you can see when I'm talking about stuff. And you can go fast forward to your favorite subject and go do that. And I also sometimes post the clips individually so you can check it out. Also, you can follow me on IG, Instagram, at Leo B. the Lion Show. I make a point to respond to if you DM or make a comment because I believe that it's important to be engaged. So let's continue with my hashtag 5-pack of pick recap. And game 4, I picked the Warriors to win game 1 against the Lakers, and they lost. So I was 1-3 in my hashtag 5-pack of picks so far. And then I had the Panthers winning game 1 against the Maple Leafs on the road, and they were able to do that. So my hashtag 5-pack of picks for last week was 2-3, under 500 by 1 game, which brought my record to 69. Nice. 53 and 2. So 69, 53 and 2. So we lost a game over 500. So now I'm still 16 games over 500. I will be giving you a new set of 5-pack of picks when football season comes in. It's gonna be 2 college and 3 NFL. Right now it's pretty much playoff games and then MLB games. So let's get into my hashtag 5-pack of picks for this week. And the first one is the Lakers versus the Nuggets. Game 1 is on Tuesday. I believe it's going to be on TNT networks around 9. They'll probably have the game at 9 since it's a standalone game. Normally when they have a Western Conference and Eastern Conference game on the same night, the networks will space them out a little bit. But since it's a Western Conference game on Tuesday on standalone Western Conference, it'll probably start about 9 o'clock. In fact, we have time. I have time. It's my show. I'm just going to go peek real quick. And then we're going to go to NBA. And the Lakers, yes, 8:30 is coverage begins. So, tip-off's going to be like 9:06. After they do the national anthem, do the stuff, it's probably going to start 9:06. Right now, Denver is a 6-point favorite. They're laying the 6 points against the Nuggets. Denver is laying the 6 points against the Lakers. So I'm going to take the Lakers +6 in this matchup. The reason why I want the Lakers, or I believe the Lakers +6 is good right here, is that the LeBron James-led teams have a history of making it close in game 1s and stealing game 1s. The Cleveland Cavs have stolen game 1s in the past when LeBron has done that, and the Miami Heat, when LeBron has been on there, have stolen game 1s when they've been on the road. And winning the games on the road in the first 2 games when it's not your home court is sort of a key for any championship team. You have to be able to do that, especially if you don't have home court advantage. So give me the Lakers +6, possibly money line, but just for the 5-pack picks, we're going to take the +6. The Nuggets, yeah, they have home court advantage. But I believe AD and the role players like Rui Hachimura, like I said, and Vanderbilt will be able to guard Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., whereas LeBron and AD will counteract Nikola Jokic's triple-double threat every night, and the Lakers will be ready to compete. I want the Lakers to just cover the 6 because I'm taking the 6 points, but I say the Lakers win outright 107-103. It's a close game 1, but they don't make the mistakes. They don't make the J.R. Smith mistake a few years ago, like the Cavs, what happened to the Cavs in game 1. The Lakers will win this game 107-103, but give me the Lakers +6 just in case. You're listening to the Leo Be the Lion show. These are my weekly hashtag 5-pack of picks for the week. Then next on the docket is the Heat versus the Celtics. This is game 1 on a Wednesday, and the Heat versus the Celtics, that game is also going to be in prime time. It's a standalone Eastern Conference game. Instead of them having the game at 7:30, they're having the game at 9 p.m. So that the West Coast can watch as well. So the Heat visiting Boston to the TD Garden to play the Boston Celtics, and the Heat right now are 8-point underdogs, whereas by de facto the Boston Celtics are 8-point favorites, and that's a lot of points in my opinion for a game 1. Similar to the game 1 of the Lakers and Nuggets, but I'm a little bit worried. But I'm taking the Heat plus the 8. Screw it, because what I was worried about is the matchups. When you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and then you have such good role players, like the Boston Celtics role players know exactly what to do and how to do it, and I wouldn't say they're well coached, but they know their role really well, and it's going to be a battle, in my opinion, of role players for this game 1. The Heat can win a gritty series, but if it's a shootout series, I don't see the Heat winning that series. They could get blown away. The Heat have won in Boston before, and they can do it again. And Boston just had a hard-fought 7-game series against the Sixers where it was tough. They were on the ropes. The Sixers took them 7, and let's see if Boston is tired at all or if they're in rhythm. We'll find out. And the one edge that I really give to the Miami Heat is the coaching. Coach Spo is the best coach left remaining in the Eastern Conference, and I would dare say that Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the Eastern Conference for the NBA. I wouldn't say that Spoelstra is a better coach than Steve Kerr, or I wouldn't say that necessarily that Spoelstra is a better coach than Popovich. But those three coaches are the top 3 in my mind for the NBA: Greg Popovich, Eric Spoelstra, and Steve Kerr as NBA coaches. Doc Rivers, I used to think he was good, but right now his record in Game 7 stands at 6-10. And Doc Rivers, he is a great coach, but ever since he won that championship with the Celtics in 2008, he's just had disappointing series after disappointing series come out. So now let's move on to the third pick in the hashtag 5-pack of picks. I picked game 1. I'll take the Lakers +6 and the Heat +8. And now we're moving to the NHL. It is game 1, TBD, to be determined when the Western Conference finishes up. The Panthers versus the Hurricanes. The Panthers are the road team. They have to go to the away ice to play, but I give the edge to the Panthers. Yeah, I know I'm picking underdogs in game 1s, but I just believe that the Panthers are on that streaky team. The Panthers have the edge in goalie. Their goaltender, Sergei Bobrovsky, or Bobby as I like to call him, is playing great. He's affectionately standing on his head, as they say in hockey lingo, that he's just doing everything he can to block the goals, to make saves, and be a great goaltender. And that can be a key in any series. And the Panthers proved it in the Boston series when they beat the number 1 overall team in the NHL, and they beat the Maple Leafs. That's a hockey team, and I ain't on a hockey team. So, in addition to the netminder Sergei Bobrovsky, we have Carter Verhaeghe and Matthew Tkachuk and players. They're playing hard for a coach. Maris. So I believe that the Panthers take game 1 against the Hurricanes, shock the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Panthers take game 1. Now let's move on to my last 2 picks in the hashtag 5-pack of picks. Leo B. the Lions, hashtag 5-pack of picks. 2 Wednesday night baseball games. So that gives me enough time to upload the video, and then you'll be able to see if my picks are right or wrong. And if I mess up, call me out on them. If I'm right, send some kudos my way. If not, no worries. So the first one is, I'm taking the Marlins to beat the Nationals in Miami. Right now, the Marlins as it stands are 20-21, but the Nationals are 18-23, and the Marlins against everybody not named the Braves and the Phillies are doing great. But against the Braves and the Phillies, they've been trash. So give me the Marlins to beat the Nationals, who are not having a good year this year. And the Marlins bats are trying to wake up, trying to get consistency pitching between Sandy Alcantara's play and trying to get some more consistency in pitching. So let's see what the Marlins can do. And all the MLB teams right now are trying to get ready for the dog days of summer, trying to rack up as many wins as they can before it starts getting really hot and stuff. So give me the Marlins to win on Sunday night baseball. On Wednesday night baseball, straight up money line. And then I'll take the Yankees as underdogs to beat the Toronto Blue Jays in Toronto on Wednesday because of Garrett Cole is pitching, and the Yankees are healthier now. The Yankees got Judge back, and Judge has been hitting home runs since he's been back, and thankfully they got Judge back, and now that they're healthy, I take the Yankees to win. So the recap for my hashtag 5-pack of picks for this week, my record is 69, nice, 53-2 on the season. Give me the Lakers +6, the Heat taking the 8 against the Celtics, the Panthers against the Hurricanes, money line, the Marlins on Wednesday night beating the Nationals money line, and then the Yankees as underdogs on the money line against the Toronto Blue Jays. So this has been the Leo B. the Lion Show, coming to you live from Respectable Street via subcultureradio.com on Clematis in beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida. You can hear me live every Mondays from 6 to 7 Eastern on subcultureradio.com if you click the listen live link, or see me when I post the videos after the fact on YouTube. I talk about sports and business with a South Florida flavor and get into issues like why the DEI bill that Ron DeSantis signed is a crock and trash, and why the Lone Pine Golf Course could still be saved and possibly turned into a municipal recreational place for the city of Riviera Beach, but we need some private and public investment. So this is Leo B. the Lion. I appreciate you all listening, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. I hope you have a great week, and let's go Heat, let's go Panthers, and let's see if it can be a rematch for the bubble in 2020 that it was in 2020 with the Heat and the Lakers getting to the NBA Finals. Have a great night. Leo B. the Lion signing off.